race to the track. Don't let them smoke in my way. That's what it takes to make a race driver stay. We have a hot charger. That's all I am. Just let me be a hard charger. Stay on the gas.
Hello, NASCAR fans across the universe. This is Hoppy Mellow coming at you live on this Monday evening for Off the Chain with Hoppy Mellow, where we can talk about all things Talladega. Fall Talladega, it's just a special race. It holds a special place in my heart and the hearts of my chain gang with me here tonight to break down all the Talladega action. Lots of questions. I'm not sure how many answers we'll have, but we got plenty of questions. My first question is, Checky Swags, are you out there this evening?
I am. Thank you for asking, Hoppy.
How you doing?
I am doing well. I am super stoked, even though I didn't pick the winner. Of all the times not to pick the winner, I didn't pick him, but he's let me down a few times this year. But congratulations to Ryan anyway.
Yeah, I know you've been known to pick that 12 car every now and then.
Especially in a plate track, but you know.
Yeah, you just for the record, you've picked him 4 times this year, but none of those were his 2 wins.
Right. You win some, you lose a lot.
Yeah, you do win. You do on this podcast, that's for sure. All right, and also it wouldn't be off the chain unless we were getting off the chain with some Willie T-Bone Hadley, who keeps his meat on the bone and his beers in the cooler. Willie, how you doing this evening?
All right, I finally got something in common with Harvick's windshield. we both got a screw loose.
Yeah, or all of them, I guess.
I need some Loctite.
Yeah. So we can start right with Harvick because once again, I think this is probably the 3rd or 4th time this season I really started to get amped up for Kevin Harvick, only to have my heart broken. But this one he took right down to the finish at the line. I thought we might actually get the Harvick final win celebration that we've all been wanting. And he came up just a few feet short, but it turns out it was a mile short due to getting disqualified for a loosed windshield fasteners were not fastened. Checky, have you had a chance to research this penalty yet at all?
I have not had a chance to research it, other than there was a lot of speculation online of how NASCAR is basically making shit up. And although I've not read the specific rule that kind of this is aligned with, I have a hard time believing that they would get away with making this up just because they want to piss Kevin off or screw Stuart Haas or something. So I have to imagine it is definitely in the rule book somewhere, and they kind of knew this shit. I guess my question, right, referring to you, we have more questions than answers, is how normal is this for there to be any movement? I'm assuming it, even though there's tremendous pressure on those cars, when you think about the rate of speed at which they travel throughout the entire race and how much pressure there is, that none of that stuff actually really comes loose. Because if something was a little loose, that shit is going to jiggle and be like a huge problem. So yeah, I don't know. Is there any competitive advantage, or is that stuff that kind of loosens? Is this a problem? I don't know. I don't feel like I've heard this before.
Well, I mean, if NASCAR, this isn't, I guess, like a cheated up part they can just display, but it would be helpful to get an explanation at some point this week on what we're even talking about here. Or maybe, this is probably something, if we listen to maybe some Steve Letarte this week, he would probably know. He'd get us all Letarted on it. But we need a crew chief explanation of exactly what the deal with that was. But can you guys imagine? Here's question numero uno that I had. Can you imagine Willie T-Bone Hadley if a tree falls in the forest and you're there to hear it? Well, that shit made some noise. So my point is, Willie, if Harvick crosses that finish line first and the beer is flowing like it's coming down straight off the Rockies, and everybody's having a good time and everybody's covered in beer, does it even matter if you got DQ'd a few hours later?
Oh,
Or riddle me this: would he even get DQ'd? Would they swallow the whistle? I'm believing in the black helicopter. They would swallow the whistle.
Okay, but that's not my question. My question was, even if he did get DQ'd, but we all got the victory lane that we were after, does it matter?
Is it just a friends you made along the way?
Right.
is this all right? So didn't Denny have to give his trophy back? Because like that would be the
Yeah, when
hard
he got
part.
DQ'd at Pocono.
Yeah, because he like open the champagne bottle, right? He was drinking it, like he had a video of himself like drinking champagne or some shit that wasn't really his. Like, boy, I get what you're saying, Hoppy. Like
You
I
have
understand
everything but the trophy, I guess. You're right.
celebration, right? You have the emotion, you have the overwhelming, like, oh my God, this is it. Like everybody's partying. Obviously, he has the beer sponsor, thus the beer reference blowing out the Rockies. Like, and the fans like us who aren't necessarily Harvick fans, but are Harvick fans in that moment and just super happy for him and like all of it. So yeah, I don't know. Don't you feel like the the elation is just literally like that rug is whipped out from under you. You're devastated. They're all going to be hungover anyway, and then they find out they didn't win. Like, yeah, you had the party, but like to find out you didn't actually win, I think would be really hard. I don't know, man. I think it's easier.
Yeah, it would. There's no doubt it would suck, but I could see them almost like looking at each other and going, "Fuck it, we won. Let's, we already like celebrated,
Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, I guess it's just how hard would that be? Giving back the trophy would be hard.
No, it would suck, but I think I would definitely prefer Harvick to have won and had the celebration and to get DQ'd than to not win at all.
Yeah, I guess. But then suppose let's go to Willie's question because I think that's a fair question also, even though he didn't want to answer yours.
Yeah.
Will, do you have an answer for Hoppy? Would you have a side on that?
I said they wouldn't. They would just pretend it didn't happen. They wouldn't call it.
I don't know.
I don't. I think that's a valid question to ask. I don't know how egregious. Right. Again, I genuinely don't know how egregious of a penalty this is in terms of, is this a safety issue? Obviously, you don't want fucking shit flying off, but is it is there any competitive advantage?
It probably happens all the time, but the only caller when it's Denny Hamlin they don't like.
Honestly, I don't know. So like, could you see a situation in which that happens? Because let's be honest, he's out of the playoffs, right? So if he were in the playoffs and someone quote unquote swallows that whistle, that's a totally different conversation because that has huge playoff implications. But this doesn't.
It has playoff implications either way, though, because Blaney was second, so
it does, but not to the extent of like Harvick wins and he shouldn't have won and he's advanced. I understand what you're saying, Hoppy, but like, I don't know. Like, that's a good question. I think that's a good black helicopter question, Willie. I think it's fair to imagine that possibility. We'll never know the outcome, but
who other than Denny Hamlin gets DQ'd and also gets points, like shitloads of points and like many thousands of dollars for rough talking on a podcast?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Well,
yeah.
They definitely will bring more scrutiny to cars that they would like to bring more scrutiny to. That's definitely a thing. But let's talk about since Ryan Blaney did actually win this race by a few feet over Kevin Harvick at the line. Let's talk about this win for Blaney because I have several thoughts on this and questions. The move that Blaney pulled on the back straightaway on Harvick to dive below him and jump in front of William Byron with only inches to spare on either end of his car. That was the race-winning move. But so when Harvick had moved up to the outside line, and that gave Blaney the ability to jump down, I think part of the problem that Harvick had right there was that he didn't he wasn't thinking about where he needed to be once he got back around. So for example, let's say he lets Blaney have the outside. Blaney doesn't have a push on him right there. But Byron has no choice but to push Harvick. And Byron actually should want to push Harvick because Harvick's not in the playoffs anymore. So I think Harvick would have been better off if he had tried to almost stay on the upper line, right? Keep back up to Blaney a little bit. Let Blaney push you to just being in front of Byron, but with Blaney next to Byron, then you cut over in front and let Byron push you home. I mean, it's easy to say now, but I think there was some maneuvering there on that final lap that Harvick just got a little bit outfoxed by the young whippersnapper, Blaney. Willie, you see it any differently?
Well, freaking Harvick should have dragged a brake. He got too big of a damn. He got too far out there.
Yeah, exactly. He should have stayed tight and then been able to dictate the last lane switching move to get the push home. That's where I think he messed up.
He got, I don't want to say screwed because it's not like Corey has any obligation, but Corey catch the quarter panel of who the hell was there?
Yes. Now that was another problem because even with all that, you're right, Checky. The 30 was the 36 car of all people in his first Cup start. Riley Herbst was up there like a fixture in that top 10 for some odd reason. I can't even understand how that's possible that Riley Herbst did that. But then, yes, when it came down to the pay window was open, he couldn't handle the pushes that he was getting. Was basically the situation there because and if you watch Denny Hamlin's replay, who was behind Corey LaJoie in the 7, and Corey LaJoie was pushing the 36 that didn't cause the wreck, you can see where Hamlin is pushing, but he realizes the 7 is out of alignment on the 36, and he jumps to the outside, and that's what got Hamlin the 4th place finish and avoided him getting in that wreck, which is just another example of how next level Hamlin is at this racing. And once again, Kyle Larson gets wrecked at Talladega. I think that's 4 out of 4 plate races this year that Kyle Larson wrecked.
Yeah. Disappointing.
He had that finish he finally wanted going. And what's that?
He's still in the game, Hoppy.
No, he is,
I know you're trying to kick him out, but he's still in.
Yeah. No, I mean, I just found it. I was chuckling to myself because the whole end of the race there, I'm like, well, I'll be damned. Kyle Larson might actually finish one of these plate races without wrecking. And he got 99.9 miles to the finish, or 99.9% to the finish, and then just didn't quite get over the line without wrecking. But now, because of all that shakeup that happened there, we've basically got a situation going into the Roval where obviously Byron and Blaney are through having won in this round, but Hamlin's now up plus 50. So his plan to take it easy and finish the race and charge forward to get 4th, that worked out for Denny in this case at Dega. I think everybody else, is still very much needing things to go right. We've got sort of in our mid-tier, we've got Bell plus 22, Buescher plus 19, Truex plus 17, and Larson plus 15. So Larson, improved his situation after how bad it looked last week, but he could have still done a lot better. So then we got Keselowski sitting on the bubble plus 2 versus basically 3 other guys that all want that bubble spot at 8th for the cutoff. That's Reddick minus 2, Wallace minus 9, and Chastain minus 10. And then Kyle Busch on the outside minus 26. So I think the potentially really interesting thing is what happens if somebody else leapfrogs that last spot, and Brad is already kicked out. Then we got, all those drivers fighting over a spot that doesn't exist. So if like Kyle Busch is in the lead at the Roval, then he's going to leapfrog all those guys and he's going to push the points race for the bubble to an intense spot with all those guys that are kind of close to each other. So I think, it could get interesting in a lot of different ways at the Roval because of the points situation. Checky, as you review these points and you think about the position that all these guys have found themselves in, and you look at Reddick, Wallace, Chastain, and Busch currently on the outside looking in, do you think that's the way we finish at the Roval? Do you think Reddick, Wallace, and Chastain and Busch are the ones that are out? If not, which ones are going to get back in there?
That is a really difficult question. I was so when I looked at the rankings, I was just still so stuck on the fact that Christopher Bell is in the 4th spot. I'm not sure how that happens.
Yeah.
But obviously it did, and it still continues to throw me for a loop when I look at it.
Yeah.
And then of course we knew that MTJ was struggling. We knew that Larson has not been doing amazing. And I'm just okay. And now Ross, obviously with this weekend's events, tossing Ross back out pretty substantially. I just don't feel comfortable saying they're going to end like this. I don't think these 4 guys that are in the cutoff, not all of them are going to be there come the end of the Roval.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I'll have to think about it really quick to see which ones I think are not gonna. I'm still disillusioned that I know Kyle has had, or FKB has had a not great season. I know it's been a struggle, but I still felt like he was going to be able to overcome and endure. And I haven't exactly lost hope on that idea yet.
Yeah.
I really don't think Wallace is, his strong suit is certainly not road courses. Now, granted, he did much better. Where did he finish? 12th or 15th last time, which is a win for him in a road course. But, I don't know. I don't know. Reddick, it should be solid. And, he obviously has the best chance to move up. But yeah, I'm not quite ready to count Kyle out of this mess.
Willie, same question to you. What are you feeling for the Roval cutoff here? How crazy do you think it's still going to get shaken up? You think we're going to have, one of these guys on the outside racing their way in with a win, relegating that current 8th position to be irrelevant? What do you think?
All right, this is what I'm predicting. We got Truex Jr. plus 17. His car is going to explode or blow up or some shit. He's out, and give me Tyler Reddick to take his spot. So that's my movement right there. Tyler Reddick goes above the line, and Truex screws the pooch somehow.
Wow.
So you think catastrophic mistake for Truex and Reddick takes the spot?
Well, they hook up the battery backwards, he turns the motor to start it, and it just blows up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
not just catastrophic. Ideally, he means actual something is blowing up. Okay.
I think what was it? Bianchi said Derek Cope at Watkins Glen when it just blew up. Remember that at the bus stop?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Just was on fire for no apparent reason. Big time. Yeah.
That's what's gonna happen.
Well, it's going to it's certainly going to be interesting because Brad Keselowski has not ran great on road courses this year, whereas, Buescher has shown strength. And I think it's just not been Keselowski's cup of tea in this car. And he's only got a 2-point lead over that cutoff over one of the best road course racers we have on the circuit, Tyler Reddick. Not to mention the fact that even though Ross Chastain is out by 10, all it takes is him having a good qualifying effort and getting 8 or 9 stage points in stage 1, and that changes things a lot for Ross Chastain from there on out if he goes and gets those stage points. So it's going to be interesting because Trackhouse has fast road course cars, and Chastain may very well qualify up front. I think there's never been a more important round of qualifying in this playoffs than there is at the Roval coming up this Sunday. That's for sure, because that's really going to dictate a lot about who has a chance to go for stage points. However, let's not forget that stage cautions make their return at the Roval as well, which means we're going to have drivers forced to decide, do they go ahead and pit before the stage caution, or do they go out and get the stage points? Now, I was very upset that Martin Truex Jr. did not go for the stage points at the Bristol cutoff race. And I think it would be crazy not to go for stage points that you can put in your pocket at the end of stage one and figure out the rest of the race from there, because there's more strategy opportunities potentially that can come up from there. But Checky, what's your thought? Don't you think if you're one of these guys, if you're anybody besides Byron, Blaney, and Hamlin in this playoff situation, don't you have to go for those stage one stage points if you can get a decent amount of them?
I would think so. And we talked about that on the last podcast for Bubba in his situation. And I didn't follow him extremely closely, but I don't think he got what he needed with any stage points this time, right?
No, he didn't.
And
A lot of drivers, whiffed on the stage points at Talladega.
Now, and I get it. You can't always, you are in control of yourself, but you're not always in control because of the dynamics of that race. So, perhaps they were trying really hard. It didn't work out. But I just don't know how you can't account for the importance of stage points, especially at this point. This is do or die. You have to get it done. So whatever strategy wise you have to do, obviously sacrificing the win potentially in the process. Obviously, we know you clinch with a win, but how realistic is that for a lot of these guys? I don't know. You're just going to have to get creative and see what you can do to finagle stage points in two of those stages if possible, right? I mean, if you can win, obviously you're going to do that, but there's too many things that can happen in a race, including the phantom debris, somebody spins out, a tire comes flying off a car. As Willie was saying, MTJ's literally his car is going to explode. Some shit could happen, and you've got a green-white checker, you've got a late pit call that it's just going to mess everything up, and the best planned race falls apart. So you just can't rely on, I'm going to win the race and have a great car.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And, you want to know how important stage points are. Brad Keselowski won stage 2 at Dega, got himself 10 stage points. He's currently in 8th place, 2 to the good because of that stage finish. It'd be a lot different deal going into Roval if he didn't win stage 2 right there and get those 10 points. And it was amazing how few playoff drivers earned any stage points at all. It was very few of them. I think it was a total of 4 playoff drivers got any stage points at Dega. 4. Larson, Byron, Blaney, and Keselowski. Oh, and Reddick got 1 point. 1 stage point. So 5 of the 12 drivers got stage points. But one of them was Byron, who doesn't need them right now. So it's very interesting to see how that affected the standings. I did think that NBC could have done a better job showing more of the live standings. They didn't do as good a job of that in this race as I was looking for from Talladega. In fact, Checky, I told Willie, he and I watched this race together, turns out, and I told him they just need to put up the race standings for the top 10, and they need to put up the playoff standings as well. Give me both on the screen all the time. That's what I want, Checky.
Yeah, I agree. I know Willie's going to fight us on this tooth and nail. I feel like he is dead set against it. But I feel like, again, if you really don't want the information or don't give a shit, you don't have to look at it. It's not going to take a tremendous amount of the screen room. In my mind, it doesn't have to work like that. There's really easy little indicators. You don't have to make a big byline of it.
Y'all are crazy. It doesn't matter until the third race and the third stage.
It matters for my constant entertainment. And we live in a TikTok culture right now, Willie, where maybe the problem is that China is not in control of the stage points. Is that the problem?
We need TikTok on the. Yeah.
No, I mean, seriously, we got a TikTok culture here. We need those constant dopamine hits to keep us going. And if I was sitting there watching those stage points ping around like a little ding 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 ding, like Plinko in The Price is Right or something, that'll keep me fired up and dopamined up, boy. Just watching that the whole time, I'd be like a fly to a lantern.
Hoppy, are you saying that we should do some skits for TikTok? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, I'm not saying that.
Oh, okay. All right. We could work on that this weekend,
Yes. Now we do have some actual Talladega questions to answer though, Checky. So I heard in an interview, I believe it was with Blaney post race, where they were talking about, wow, the quality of the racing was great, and Blaney highlighted that he thought really the mix up of the racing that we were seeing at Dega, as well as the 3 wide action and stuff like that. He was saying that it was still due to a lot of cars trying to save as much fuel as possible to minimize time on pit road as much as possible. And so my question for you, Checky, is do you care if that's why the racing was more entertaining? Do you care if it's because they're having to try and save fuel?
Do I care? I think this question has to be unique to a plate track experience, right? So
yeah, no, that's what I mean, specifically for plate racing.
I guess I don't care, because I mean, whether it's 2 or 3 wide, I think the variety that the 3 wide, because again, looking back to Daytona, that being the cutoff race, and we were so shocked that it happened, right? We weren't anticipating that. I think it added definitely a lot of flavor to the race, regardless of the reason behind it. And I have to wonder, okay, so maybe some folks are trying to save. I wonder if you're really being, as a driver, are you able to truly be authentically saving all of the time? And that's really how it's playing out? Or are you also getting caught up in we're doing this now, and to hell with that for right now because we're doing this other thing? You know what I mean? So regardless of the reason, I have to wonder, are they staying true to that ideal the entire time? I would love to know. I don't know. Maybe, if a reporter could ask them that question, I think that would be an interesting play, because that might be your intention, but are you really sticking through that the entire time? And even so, it's creating great TV for the fans. So, and as long as they're relatively safe about it and can stay out of trouble, then okay, cool.
Yeah. Willie, what do you think? If you're entertained by the racing, do you care what the reason for the good racing is?
Well, yeah. I mean, I can't suspend disbelief completely. We could kind of segue this into the poll. I kind of felt like Gluck and Bianchi on Here Down were trying to say it was like the greatest race ever. And then I don't know. Well, there wasn't like that much shit to happen.
Well, I'll tell you what, I listened to the NBC podcast today in addition to the Teardown, and I don't know why I subject myself to listening to the NBC podcast when it's Kyle Petty on there, because I freaking hate listening to Kyle Petty, but I do it anyway.
You know what I mean?
You know what I mean? And so Kyle Petty, Kyle Petty, he came right out at the very beginning of the podcast and just poo-pooed the whole damn Talladega race. Said it was a snoozer. Said it was
one of the but it wasn't like.
No, he called it a snoozer, Willie. I'm telling you.
But isn't it a snoozer in the context of plate racing, because you should be on the?
He called it a snoozer for a Talladega race.
Right, because it doesn't have wreck after wreck after wreck. I mean, I don't know. It just
that's what people want now on Talladega.
That's not what all people want, but I know a lot of people do want that. And I think that goes into some of Hoppy's. Correct me if I'm wrong, Hoppy, but I feel like you like that as a part of your excitement for plate track racing, is that kind of drama, and I just am not there for that. But that's just. And I know I'm firmly planted in the minority in that particular realm.
Well, yeah, I don't really care why the racing looks good as long as the racing is good and it is entertaining. So I thought it was a pretty good Talladega race, especially compared to, some of the expectations we've had for. And listen, this fall race, it's got a lot of guys with different agendas, right? Like in the spring, it's just pretty much, hey, everybody's going out there trying to win the damn race. But in the fall, it's a very different situation where you got guys who really absolutely have to win, guys that want to win, guys that want to just not wreck. So it's you're gonna see a mix of drivers and agendas. I think that was pointed out on the NBC podcast today, and I agree with it. And I thought it was entertaining. Certainly a lot more than Kyle Petty highlighted it to be. I'm not sure. I do find myself wondering now, if you're out there and you're gonna vote no to this race, that it was not a good race. Like, why are you voting no? Because I don't know what you vote no about on that race, which is why I guess Gluck and what's his name? Bianchi. Yeah, I guess that's why what did they guess? Like 90 something they were going to?
They were like low 90s.
That seems high to me. But
yeah, I think it's in the 80s.
Yeah, probably. But I guess, good race poll wise, I believe Willie was the last one to actually win it, if I remember correctly.
So I gotta go first.
So you get to put it out there, Willie. Put it out.
Right. I'm gonna go 83.88.
All right. See if we need that extra 0.8 for the tiebreaker here. Looks like I am next, and that's a solid guess, Willie. I got to try to anticipate Checky's move here so that she doesn't box me in the middle 3 wide too bad.
I'll take your dirty air.
Yeah.
Don't even worry about it.
I'm a little confused by this because I don't know. Part of me wants to say that it'll actually be worse than that, but with the way Gluck talked it up and everything, I gotta assume it'll actually be better than that guess that Willie had. It's a good guess by Willie. I'm gonna go with Willie. You're making this hard on me. I'm gonna go with 81.0.
Wow. You went down. You just talked yourself into voting higher and you went lower.
I did.
Okay. Man. Yeah, y'all got me in a bind here. So I think I will I'll take your original course of action, Hoppy, because I can't split the middle on that. I'm way too nice to do that. And I don't think it's going to be low because I think the Blaney win is a popular win. I think people are going to be super disappointed about Harvick, but since he didn't win, I think it's whatever. I think Blaney's win is big and it was overall a good race. I still think this voting is crazy because I just think this audience is crazy. Whoever's voting, they're always just so, I don't know, off track from where I'm at. So I'm going to go a little bit higher than Willie, but not too high, Willie. I don't know. What do I usually give you, like a point or something? You've been mean to me though, Willie. That's the thing about you. You've been really mean. So I'm going to give you 84.8, which is almost a full point.
All right.
Okay.
Answer is 86.5 currently. So Checky beat us out with the last big
unless it goes down tonight when I get my bot army on it.
Yeah, good guess, Checky. You went the right way. I went the wrong way. So yeah, current answer 86.5. Looks like most people out there are not like Kyle Petty. They do like the action on the track at Dega, regardless of why it was. So yeah. Now, while I'm looking at this, I have to remind everybody that the score for the Roval race a year ago, for the playoff cutoff race at the Roval, which was relatively uneventful, scored a 19.1 on the Good Race Poll last year.
And that's why the Roval's not coming back next year.
Yeah.
We had better time than 19.1.
Oh, we definitely did.
I had fun.
We always do.
Remember
Yeah,
at the end, I was about to climb on the fence to get a caution.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it went pretty cautionless, that race, I believe. All maybe I have a feeling it'll be a little bit more interesting this year, but we'll see. Everybody's going to be out there trying to mind their P's and Q's, but we'll have stage breaks at least. So.
And at least 3 restarts.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be good. If not, Willie, you just slingshot around them and you take the lead yourself.
Or I can always just climb the fence.
That too. Yeah. Well, as long as we're touching on the Roval and it being the final Roval race, I want to highlight that this chain gang right here has and intends to finish with a perfect 100% attendance record at all Charlotte Roval races that have ever occurred.
Was it like 7 years? How many years is it?
I want to say is this Roval 5?
That's kind of what I was thinking, but my memory is not the greatest.
I'm pretty sure it's Roval 5.
19 was the first year.
That sounds right. Right?
Yeah. Well, if that's the case, then 23 would be 5. Yeah. Well, no, because wait a minute.
Was it 18?
This might be the 6th one
during COVID.
Yeah. Because I want to say the COVID one was definitely not the second. We had 2 visits there before COVID.
Okay.
Right? That's how I'm remembering it.
Come through.
So this may be Roval 6. We can get one of our people on that to confirm. But I'm glad to be going to this Roval, but I'm also glad that the Oval will be back in the fall because, hey, let's face it, the Oval with this car at Charlotte has been good. And I think a year from now, we're going to be in for some good cutoff playoff racing if they keep it as the cutoff race. Now, the question is, will it still be the cutoff race? I think it should be because currently we have Bristol, Roval, Martinsville as cutoffs. I think with the way that the 1.5 mile tracks have been racing, especially Charlotte, I think it's perfect to have a track just like this as the cutoff for this round. I think it works fine. What's your opinion on that, Checky? You want to see, given that Charlotte Roval is going to Charlotte Oval, do you want to see it remain as the cutoff?
Yeah, I think your logic is solid there in terms of we don't know exactly what the schedule is going to be like. We've had some hints. There's things starting to kind of slowly leak out, but being that it's going back to Oval, and we kind of know, even though they still like hem and haw, right? And they tested it already, and we know it's headed that direction. Yeah, I think the racing has been good, so I don't think there shouldn't be any concern with, is this going to be a good race? Is it going to be good enough to support like a cutoff? Yeah, I feel like it's solid. Let's do it. Why not?
Yeah. All right.
So where else are we going? If they don't, where else is going to be that place? I mean, you could, Texas has already said to go to the spring, right? So what else is taking its place? And don't tell me one of those damn street courses that no one's ever been to before, because that's bullshit. That should not be in the playoffs.
Well, like I said, I think you put a second street course in the playoffs when you get rid of Texas, since it's moving to the spring. And Texas was the first race of this round. So I think that's how you run the second round is you start with a street course, then you go to Dega, then you finish at Charlotte Roval for the round. That's a good round right there.
I do not like the integrity of your playoff copy, just for the record. I'm making
I think but I think we're going to find out, I believe, this week, right? Isn't the actual full season schedule due out this week?
Is it? I don't know.
That's what I heard.
Oh, and I looked it up. The Roval was 18, so this is the 6th year.
Yep. Roval 6. Makes sense.
I believe that shit when I see it.
Now, do y'all have any other what do we know about the schedule reveal? We know that we're going back to North Wilkesboro. We know that Bristol will not be on dirt in the spring. We know that Texas will be in the spring somewhere.
We know the Brickyard is going to the Oval. That's been confirmed.
Yep. So we're losing the road course race that was Indianapolis. So that takes us down to 5 road courses. And we're losing Charlotte Roval, so that takes us down to 4 road courses.
In my opinion, it should be.
And they already said they intend to race Chicago again, and that due to contractual reasons, I can't see any reason why that wouldn't still be on the July 4th weekend in Chicago. They're trying to build that up right now. So I think we get the question is, can they pull off another street course race in this very next year? I think that might be tough. It would depend on how far along talks are with other cities and having the support of a city to do it, to get ready in time. So I'm thinking maybe we maybe we don't get a street course next year. Maybe we end up just going down to 5 road courses on the season, and they'll have to add something else, some other road course back in. Possibly the one in Canada because they want to go more international. Maybe they'll get us in Canada for the first time for the Cup Series. What do you think, Willie? What do you think you're going to see on the schedule shake up?
I'm disappointed. I want the Roval back. I fear change. I don't like change. I like North Wilkesboro, but I don't want $300 damn tickets.
Yeah.
Yeah, you and me both, man.
And that's going to be on fresh pavement. So we're going to go from, Kyle Larson spanking him on the old pavement to some other driver spanking him on new pavement. Right?
We need to bring out the sprinklers.
Cheese grater. Throw some sand. That's in the sand. We can haul in some sand from Darlington, from the sand hills of North Carolina in there when they repave that shit. Come on. Grade it up.
Well, it's gonna be interesting. I'll be very curious to see what that schedule looks like. I'm interested in more change, more new things. That's what NASCAR needs to be unveiling a schedule every year, just with multiple new things to talk about, things that they just create, anticipation that's needed every year. So I hope we're now moving to a continued era in NASCAR where we get new interesting stuff in the schedule every year. They gotta make that business the new business as usual.
I have it for you, Hoppy. It's a part of my headline, but I'll go ahead and say it because we're talking about schedules. Now, this is not 100% confirmed, but when it comes out from a NASCAR reporter saying NASCAR is said to, like, you can pretty much believe that it's already been kind of in the works. And we actually heard about this, I believe in DBC the other week, and maybe there was someone else who talked about it, but Iowa getting a cup race in 2024. So it's not in print, but it said that's where it's coming. And so maybe we can hypothesize they're not going to get Canada, but they're getting Iowa.
Okay. Yeah, that would be popular. Maybe that's what we'll see. Checky, I'm sure another headline you have down there is related to the drama that people are talking about in the Dirty Sanchez maneuver that was performed by Nick Sanchez on Matt Crafton. He's trying to pull some. Sanchez is trying to pull some gaslighting, I guess, on everybody by saying that Matt Crafton sucker punched him, but that seems a little suspect, and there's no video evidence to say exactly what happened. So the story is that Sanchez accosted Crafton after the race, a good 30 minutes after the truck race, and that Crafton hauled off and punched him. And then Sanchez went into some sort of psycho, I'm going to kill you mode. You messed with the wrong guy, as he was being held back. So, Willie, what's your expert fight analysis breakdown of this MMA match between the 40-something-year-old Crafton and the younger whippersnapper?
All right, so it pretty much went down on Twitter, so we don't really know exactly what happened because the video we see is after old Dirty Sanchez gets punched in the face, but they're probably both lying a little bit. And so Gluck was talking about how nobody's gotten fined recently for punching people, but I think they got to find Sanchez for saying he's going to kill him at Homestead. So if you find one, if you suspend one, you got to suspend the other one. So I think they both get suspended one race.
But aren't they in the playoffs?
Crafton is not.
Crafton is not in the play. Sanchez is?
But yeah, he's fourth, I believe, in the playoff.
Is he? Okay. Because I mean that
That's
carries, yeah. So it'll be very interesting to see how NASCAR handles this. Checky, what do you want to add to the analysis there by Willie?
No, I mean, I thought it was, I mean, fascinating. I saw, my I got a notification, and my notifications are not like immediate. They'll just come up like I haven't read it. And so when I was at lunch today, I read over Matt Crafton stuff, and he had like tweet, because you're still limited in characters. And he kind of explained from his perspective the situation. And I thought, well, if there's any validity to this, and there indeed are none of these, because everybody's got a freaking phone, right? Everybody's, and there's, obviously there's reporters who are gonna want to see this, but there's gonna be fans down there. There's gonna be somebody's got to see something, right? So to think that he just sucker punched him, I mean, if it's true that this guy said, I'm going to kill you, and that wasn't like, I've seen some sucker punches, right? But I don't know. It seems shady. And I'm a boys have at it kind of gal. I do like, punches to be face on, nothing from behind, right? People to face each other. And if you're going to have a discussion or put hands on or whatever you're going to do, yeah, I'll be interested to see what NASCAR does with the fines and stuff, but you can't, I mean, Crafton was pretty pissed about obviously getting wrecked. But those trucks are a weapon, cars are a weapon. And obviously I don't think the guy meant to like wreck him and put him into the wall and hurt him, but like, you can't be saying that shit, and you can't be using your truck as a weapon in those ways. So, yeah, they're gonna have to monitor that shit. You can't be doing that, and people just got to know there's shit that you can't say. Like you could say I'm gonna punch you in the face, but you can't say I'm gonna kill you. You know what I mean? Like you gotta rein it in there somewhere.
Yeah, Sanchez just showed he's got some sort of like Noah Gragson, early Kurt Busch years, like willingness to just snap and lose it.
Yeah, and I don't think that's going to go over well in the more modern version. And even so, they kind of got rid of boys have at it, or did they? We're not really sure, but you still aren't going to be able to get away with that kind of crap.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, we're definitely in some sort of a post boys have at it era, loosely defined. There's not a clear start and stop of the era we're in now, but it's definitely not as boys have at it-ish as it used to be.
For sure.
I think NASCAR is trying to walk a very careful line there, where basically a lot of it comes down to being relatively consistent with themselves, while also basically just not wanting the sport to have a bad look. Essentially, if it looks like they should do something, then they will, and if they're trying to be consistent with themselves, then they probably will. So that feels like the main governing principles right about now. Checky, what else you got for us on headlines this week?
Headlines. So while we're talking about the truck race, I will go ahead and add Stuart Friesen was treated and released at the hospital due to his wreck in that race, which was really interesting. I watched that after the fact, and they didn't really have the greatest view on it. I'm glad he's okay. They didn't say a whole lot, so I'm hoping he really is okay. And then another fella, Greg Van Alst, as I understand, actually fractured a vertebrae. And his, and he went to the hospital as well. So hopefully everybody is doing okay and we'll be good to go by the next race. And we can't move on without talking about the superhero, like literally like Superman, truck, tire changer for Zane Smith, who got essentially clobbered on pit lane by a Zane Smith that was spinning out on pit road. And that was crazy, and glad it worked out the way he did. It did for him, because he was essentially injury free, and they interviewed him. He's like, I'm great to go. Like he was he was a champ, and it felt like he was being sincere. Like, no, I'm good, just because the angle it hit and all that. He had the tire there and the tires rather, and it just was good. What did you guys think about that? That was pretty wild.
Willie?
Well, yeah, I mean, you're not often you see somebody get hit by a car and then the car lose. Like he knocked a big ass hole in the back of that thing.
He did fuck it up
And it
a
was
little bit. Yeah, that was pretty wild. If anyone doesn't know what we're talking about, you have got to go on Twitter. You've got to go on NASCAR.com. You got to see this. It's on all the socials. This guy was a rock star. Do we know what sport he played? Was this guy a football player? Because he kind of looks like a football player, but I don't like to assume. Is that what he was doing?
I don't know, baseball.
He didn't look like a golfer to me. So good for him. And we should probably congratulate the ultimate winner, Brett Moffitt. He hasn't won in like ages. And he was one of those guys, I feel like Creed, who had like they've got a championship and all of a sudden they got nothing, right? You don't exactly know where they go, what happened. And so congrats to him, because that was a big feel-good win, which kind of got overshadowed by some other things perhaps. So in the news, we'll talk about another truck issue. KBM closing the Truck Series operation at the end of 2023, selling all of that and manufacturing assets to none other than Spire Motorsports, who continues to be in the news with these big money acquisitions. What do we think about this, guys?
Willie?
Are they like Saudi Arabian? Like, where they get all this money from?
They're printing it. I don't know. I don't know.
These are the guys that bought 78 charter from Barney, right?
Well, from Live Fast or whatever, right? With BJ McLeod. But he's still going to do some part-time stuff on his own. But yeah, they're taking Zane, and they're going to be Trackhouse affiliated, right? But not really. It's complicated. Their Facebook status should say with the relationship it's complicated. Does Facebook still have that option? I'm not sure, but they should use it if they don't. All right, moving on. What else we got? A fun fact that I wanted to share. You guys might know this. Blaney doesn't usually do burnouts. Do you know why he doesn't do burnouts typically? He did this weekend because he was really, really, really excited. But do you know why he doesn't?
He doesn't like all the smoke in the car?
Good try. Willie, what's your guess?
I think I saw this quote on the Twitters. It's from, was it Inman?
Yes, very good.
Winningest crew chief ever, maybe. Dale?
Yeah, he told Blaney at one point, he told me, this is Ryan's quote is, Dale Inman told me the winner of the Kentucky Derby doesn't get off his horse and start beating the shit out of it. So he doesn't do burnouts for that reason, but his excitement overtook him and he did the burnout. So congrats to Ryan Blaney for getting the win and advancing. Let's see. What else did I want? Oh, you guys are going to love this. Maybe not, but I thought it was really interesting. Supercar team, and I'm sure I'm going to say this wrong because I have no idea what the hell this name is. I'm going to call it Erebus Motorsport. Plans to enter some NASCAR races in 2024, capitalizing on the relationship with RCR driver. You'll remember they have this kind of signed a supercar guy, Brody Kostecki, because that guy wants to explore more racing action in the U.S. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, that is. Sounds like there's potential for these few guys that, have gotten a couple shots. They're going to get some more road racing shots. Yeah,
for sure. Interesting stuff. Unrelated to NASCAR, but I had to throw it in here because it's a ton of money. Apple is considering bidding up to $2 billion a year for rights to air F1 races exclusively. I'm not kidding. I read this. Our buddy Adam Stern, who breaks all the things. I just had to go there and check it out, and I read that Now it's not in print, it's considering bidding up to. And I had to double check to say million? No, not million, billion. So we'll see if
They
that's
don't even beat NASCAR.
that's a ton of money, right? And I was like, wow, what's the NASCAR rate for what's the contract up to? Because that's just crazy. Anyway, that's kind of random and that's a ton of money, so I had to tell you. I'm excited about this, but for a different reason than y'all might think. So NASCAR has a new licensing deal out in 2024 with a slot car toy maker called Carrera Roval of Americas, and it's to make Hendrick Motorsports sets and individual models of their drivers. So I am not excited because I'm going to buy one of those, but I'm just excited because I think every NASCAR fan, especially if you're a kid, should be able to have slot cars with your favorite teams or drivers on them. I'll tell you what, one of the reasons I keep my husband around is because he's a good gift giver. And a handful of years ago, I don't remember when it was, he bought me a Stewart. This is when Ryan was racing for Stewart Haas, and it is a Tony Stewart, Ryan Newman slot car set. I am such a kid. I love slot cars. They are so much fun. Discuss.
It reminds me of that Natalie Decker sponsor Crash Racers. Wasn't that slot cars?
Well, I don't know.
The most
That's
appropriate sponsorship ever.
of like the hot. Did you guys used to have Hot Wheel cars that were like smack 'em ups, and you literally smash them into each other, and the hood would pop open, and the front dash would roll back, and it was all crashed up. I had some of those. Did you guys have those?
I had Transformers and their pieces would break off.
Different, Willie. Anyway, so fans, there's no age limit on these slot cars. They're fun at all ages. Keep that in mind. See what's going to be on the shelf. If you're a HMS fan, stay tuned for that for next year. That's what I got. Those are my headlines. Y'all are welcome. Oh, wait. I can't forget this. It's a headline, but we haven't talked about it. It's racing related. Wheel and Modifieds. We're at North Wilkesboro this weekend. I went. Ryan Newman was there. So was I. Not surprising. Matt Hirschman came home with the win. It was a great race, and Ryan finished sixth. So there you go.
Well, there you have it. That was thorough, Jackie. Thank you. We almost forgot to pick race winners for the Roval. We got to do that. Then it's peace out. We're shutting this thing down, moving on to the week ahead.
I still haven't decided. I have all this time, and I still have 5 guys on my page, Hoppy. I've got trouble.
Well, all right. Well, you're going to have a little bit more time to decide because you know the drill. Willie has a perfect winless streak going, and so he's going to pick first for us again. Willie, who you got for the Roval?
I'm feeling Chase motherfucking Elliott. I mean, he's going to get it together, and it's his chance, and it might be rigged.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can't fault you for going with him. I mean, he might very well do it. I will say though, for my pick, I was thinking Hendrick, and I'm gonna stick with it because this is the guy that, spanked him a little bit at the Glen. And that 24 car, once it gets going on these road courses, with a guy like Byron being locked in, I feel like I got to pick Wild Bill Byron to put on that dumbass big hat at the end of the race and get the win there. And who knows, maybe even Jeff Gordon will break out a sweater vest. Checky, who's that leave you with?
Okay. Well, actually, I'm only had to cross off Elliott because he was on my list. I did think for a moment about Byron, but I didn't actually write him down. I'm a little bit torn. I've seen Blaney do well at the Roval. Part of me is really excited with the momentum idea, and wouldn't it be nice to see him bring home another win? He doesn't have to, right? He's good, but I think I'm gonna go against my. I don't know if it's better judgment or not. So this guy, I'm gonna pick him because he's done it before. He's spoiled the playoffs, and he seems to be in a good position. Gosh, I really don't want to pick him though. Um, I'm not gonna pick Kyle. I'm not that gung ho. But I have seen Christopher Bell come through in the clutch, and so I'm gonna go with him.
Bell, really? You're going with Bell?
I know. It's not a great pick, but
Checky, Checky, I feel bad for you because
don't feel bad for me. I know he's not locked in, but he's sort of locked in. He's not going to do anything crazy, but I think he's going to be good there. I do. I think he's going to be good.
I'll tell you why I wouldn't pick Bell, and that's because unless they are the dumbest team out there, if they have any chance of getting stage points, then they need to take the stage points to basically lock themselves into the next round. Because if they get if they get like 15 stage points, man, they're already up 22. It's hard for them to have a bad enough day to get passed by a bunch of other guys at that point. So, I mean, the objective is survive and advance. So I think they gotta play the stages to get stage points.
I want to pick Larson, but I just don't feel good about it. Blaney's got nothing to lose. So I'm just for the hell of it. I'm gonna go Bell because I said.
Okay. Well, he did it a year ago.
He wasn't even going to be going through. I picked him not to move on. So he has proven me wrong. So screw it. I'm putting him in victory lane.
He might just do it. His win the last two Rovals. He might. All right. Well, that's
Either
a show.
Hoppy. That's the deal. Either way, I'm winning.
I like the confidence, Jackie. All right, y'all. Well, thank you for a great breakdown of Fall Talladega. It does have a special place in my heart because, not only do I love fall time and I love Talladega, but the two of them go so well together that it just feels like fall is in the air. And on that note, we're going to go out here, enjoy our week. We're not going to work too hard. I won't. And we're going to get the chain gang together in the Roval. For Roval number 6 and keep our 100% streak alive. Checky, you have yourself a great evening. Willie,
you too.
Don't do anything to get on the no-fly list between now and then, Willie, all right?
Well, I'm driving anyways. Not be infringed.
Yeah, all right. Checky, be good. Willie?
Thanks to our listeners for putting up with us as usual.
All right.
We did it.
Let me see the track. Don't let them smoke in my way. That's what it takes to make a race driver stay.